So, when you were going through your lifetime, what were some of your old hobbies and some of your hobbies?
Well, when I was sort of a boy, I was, apart from making Shanghais and riding my bike and doing all those things, I was very keen in building model aeroplanes and used to spend a lot of time. And if I may say so myself, built some quite nice ones. These were petrol-driven model aeroplanes that flew on control lines, and had a lot of fun with that. And I guess because of that, it sort of led me into aviation a bit. But other hobbies that I had, snow skiing, of course, was a great fun, and we always spend a lot of time at the beach in the summer, water skiing and whatnot. But something with my hands basically was making these models, which was very good training for later life. It makes you practical and being able to do things. And of course my father was an influence at that time because he was although he was a professional person, he was also very practical with his hands, and he could turn his hand to most mechanical things to repair things, and taught us boys a lot in that regard. In fact, when I guess I was about 13 or so, and my elder brothers were 15 and 17, he bought us an old car which we proceeded to pull entirely to bits and rebuild. And then that was my eldest brother drove that when he was 18, and that was a great training thing because we understood how a car worked. And if you understand how something works, you treat it with more respect because you know what's happening in the gearbox or the engine. It's not just some noise under the engine. It's you can imagine all those pistons going up and down or whatever. So I think that's important.
Right.
But it was hobbies. Yes, I was continued to be interested in sailing and boating from when I was young, and had a series of boats, and had a Dragon, which is a 30-foot keelboat, and sailed that in the Prince Philip Cup, which is Australian Championships and whatnot. And very interesting story there because in later life I was working for a company, and I was cold calling on a German company making medical packaging, and I thought, the guy wasn't there, he'd gone off to lunch, but they said he'd come back, and they put me in his office. His office was a beautifully furnished room and whatnot, and they just left me. They shut the door, and I thought, this is a bit difficult because I didn't speak much German. And then I looked around the walls, and here was a whole lot of pictures of Dragon yachts, and I thought, well, this guy can't be all that bad. And I looked closely at one, and I could see the grain size at Geelong. And I thought, this guy's been out to Australia and sailed in the world. And anyway, I looked very closely at the picture, and it was of the Start. And here I could see my sail just sticking out, DKO 94.
Ooh.
So here I'd gone to Germany, someone I didn't know, in the middle of Germany, and on his wall he had a picture of my yacht. So anyway, he came in, and he's very dapperly dressed in a waistcoat and suit and whatnot, and he apologised for being late. And I thought, I'll take a chance here. And they said, funny people, you Germans. And he looked at me, and I said, yes, you shut me in your office and shut the door and sit there. And he looked at me very sternly as what was I, getting a bit upset. And I said, not only that, you sit me here and make me look at a picture of my own yacht on the wall. Well, he wanted me to stay, and he wanted me to take me to dinner in the old town and whatever. And of course we did the business, and for many years that company I worked for had a relationship with his company making medical packaging. So, other things like the model aircraft, I guess, led me into the hobby of flying aircraft, and I got my licence 40 years ago. and flew the family all around Australia on many adventures.
Ooh.
So, and Jack, I'd love to take you for a fly, but I don't. We'll have to go up one day and with an instructor, and you should have a fly of an aircraft just for the feeling of it.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. So with racing, it was sort of gentleman racing last time you talked to me about it. That's what you called it.
Well, yeah, you mean car racing? Yes,
Yeah.
old cars. That's right. I'd call it gentleman racing because it's not really aggressive, and everyone, tries not to bump into anyone else,
Yeah.
and that's good fun because you're actually on a track, concerned with driving the car. You're not concerned about whether there's a policeman going to book you for speeding or whether there's some other car that's going to come across the crossroad or whatever. Everyone on the track knows what everyone else is doing, and it is quite fun. So I have some old cars, as you know, and one of them, the red one, that's did run in the 36 and 37 Australian Grand Prix, and that's why I've been asked to run at the Melbourne Grand Prix a couple of times in the historics. And in fact, there's quite a... I don't know whether I ever told you this, but your father, of course, has got some old cars, and one of them being the Cooper Climax,
Yep.
which is a very fast car.
Yep.
And he was in the same sort of race, and I could tell he was determined to lap me, which he had no problem doing really, because he could go about twice as fast. But I saw him coming down the main straight, and I thought, well, I'm just going to hold my line through this corner, and he'll have to worry about where he goes. So he had to cram on the brakes and slow down, and I accelerated flat out, and as he could accelerate further as he went past, he gave me the bird. And I thought, well, you're allowed to do that to your son-in-law. Anyway, we've had a lot of fun with the old cars, and as you know, we've been on some car trips and things like Mount Gambier last year. I thought was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
We went on some beautiful drives. Yes.
And that time we went down to the beach and visited that really long, what was it? The deck. We saw a couple of families. You went in your car, Dad went in the Bugatti.
Which beach? It was Phillip Island, wasn't it?
Oh, no, I don't think it was Phillip Island. It was somewhere,
In the lock.
not too sure. It was sort of a old towny place, had an ice cream store, big long place where you'd fish, right next to the beach, sunny day.
Yeah.
It was a Bugatti rally, I think.
Was it? Yes, I'd have to think of that.
One
There's
day.
been quite a few over the years. But, look, it's good fun, and I guess one day you'll get some fun out of it too.
Right.
And the fun isn't in going fast, the fun is driving a car that's, I think your father's Bugatti is be 90 years old now.
Oh, God.
And in fact, I think it'd be 92. I think it's 1927 it's built. So it's rather unbelievable to think that his car was built only sort of like 30 years after the first car was invented,
Oh.
and yet it's still driving on the road, and
And it's still driving well.
Yeah, and it's
Looked
just-
after.
certainly look. They certainly take maintenance and that, but the fact is that car like that is irreplaceable, and they can build replicas, but they not the original, and it's worth maintaining and keeping forever. I mean, what happens with many generations would be still driving when it's 1,000 years old? I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe.
So that was the car scene.
Yeah.
But so what else have we got, Jack?
I'm not too sure. I think we've gone a few over. We've had some new questions that I've thought of. Might have one more. We have got one more. It's what was your favourite sport growing up?
Well, I think I can answer that pretty well. I used to play football and didn't play a lot of cricket. No, I used to swim, but I wasn't a champion swimmer. I did quite well in athletics. 100 yards was my specialty. And but my favourite sport by far when I was at school was rowing. I think that was a lot of fun. It's a great team sport, and you're out in the river, and you also mix and meet with the crews and boys from other schools, and that's a great part of it. We used to row out of the Banks Rowing Club shed in the city, and of course next to that was the Melbourne Grammar Shed, and maybe one day you'll be rowing out of there. So
Yeah.
but no, I really enjoyed rowing. Of course, it was very competitive. We used to train well, I think we're only supposed to train 4 mornings a week, but we used to train sort of 5, and all day Saturday. And we'd, as a lot of the boys did, we'd go down, and the coach might take some lunch in the speedboat, and we'd row right down the river, even onto the bay if it was calm.
Right.
And up the Maribyrnong and back up the river, and then right up the river to Hawthorn and back down. We'd put in a lot of miles, and we got very fit. And when a rowing 8 is all in time and everyone is getting it right, it's a great feeling. It's just click, 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 and it's just like all rowing exactly in time. It's just a terrific feeling. The boat just seems to fly. Yeah, so that was my favourite sport. Well, I mean, that was of the formal sports, but of course I was skiing and sailing were always very favourite sports too.
Right. Alright, well this has been great, Grandpa. Thanks for talking.
Alright.
It's really good. Thank you.
Alright.
Seriously,
Well,
thank
Jack,
you.
I hope that's given you something to work on.
Definitely has. Thank you. I'll definitely give you a copy of the book when it's done.
Right, well, you'd better get me down early because it might sell out fast.
It definitely will. Thank you.